Do apologise for the late start, but we are here. 2 streams in a row we've had technical issues, but I believe we could be hopefully live. I'm just going to double check while I load into the game, which takes an age. Everything's working audio wise, so it is just the game loading now, so we should hopefully get the end of qualifying. I'm going to presume that's not important in the slightest. That error message, I really hope so anyway. But I think we're getting here. Let's hope so. So, while we load in, I'm going to very quickly go over the Drivers' Championship. Dan Morris currently leading the Drivers' Championship, 3 points ahead of Lewis Craig. CJ, 30 points, only 13 points off Dan Morris in third place. I'm hoping the game's gonna get us in any time soon today. Oh, I saw something in the background. There we go. Let's go and do this. Someone's saying server's gone. For Ivan, that's not a great start for him. Hopefully someone should be able to get him in into the session. Into the constructors then, Red Bull 62 points at the moment on top, Alpine 43 points, and Haas also on 43 points. So anyways, let's get this going after a while of waiting. So Lewis Craig is currently on pole position, decent gap of 3/10. Obviously Lewis unfortunately having a fair bit of issues last time in Spain, where he disconnected, I believe, from the lead on the final few laps, not where he wanted to be. Darky, meanwhile, nearly seconds off pole position. Let's watch on board with him as he goes into turn 1 and into turn 3. Burns the ERS a little bit. Do we put the telemetry on? Let's do that. CJ 12.5, only just about getting pole position as Darky goes into turn 4 and then turn 5. Clip the apex on the left. That bit pretty neat. A little bit of a lock up, but nothing too dramatic. It goes into turn 7 and 8. Clip the apex nicely. So far, really good lap from Darky here as he opens the DRS as he goes on to turn 9, and then the slow section of the track, turn 10. Get on the throttle as early as you can. Turn 11, try to clip the apex on the left. Turn 12, don't run on that curb too much, it'll spin you around. And then fast, turn 13 and turn 14, in which has been a decent lap by Darky. Let's see where this puts him on the grid. It's pole position at the moment, 12.4. That is Darky's lap. That is the one to beat at the moment. We have Red Bull of Lewis Craig. Let's see what he can do on his lap. He is chasing down Darky for pole position. What's it going to be? It stays third place. CJ into the pits. He will not be improving on his lap time. We go to Matty C. Where does he place himself? P12. It's not pole position. Jake P8. And I believe that is the fight for pole. Jess moves herself up to P6. Great quality from her. Deck has been validated. It's all down to Luca, who is not going to finish his lap. I believe that is qualifying, unless Chris Johnson can do something. Let's see what he can do. He puts himself into P5. Good lap from Chris, who was downplaying his chances the other night. Ryan Berry, let's see what the Aston Martin driver can do. Puts himself into P8. Mick Schumacher, the last one to go across the line, and he has invalidated. So it is Darky on pole position here in Spain. The man who we know has struggled in the past to finish in TGP races. He in TGP1 has not finished a single race, I don't believe. Well, he's had a great start tonight here in Spain. As we've got Kaya and CJ in the chat. Evening, boys. I do apologise for the really messy start of the stream, but we are underway and we're going to get both sessions on stream, hopefully, assuming nothing else goes wrong. So yeah, Darky on pole position then. Let's look at him on the championship. He isn't actually in the top 10. He hasn't scored a single point this season. Only 2 races in, of course, so I don't know if he was attending last week, but he is attending this week, that's for sure. He impresses, beating the likes of CJ, last season's winner in P2. And Lewis Craig, well, I was expecting big things from him, but it isn't. Only P3. He's got to do a lot in the race, but I'm saying, right, so now Darky's done that, which has really impressed me actually. I'm saying we've got potentially a 4-way fight for the championship. CJ, Lewis, Dan, and Darky potentially. I'm just saying, I'm not putting it out of contention. So, Darky on pole position from CJ, from Lewis Craig, from Luca, from Chris Johnson, from Deck, from Jess, Ryan Berry, Bazar, Daniel, Jake Warrior, Jack Craig, Matty C, Mick Schumacher, Stereogram, Say Sports, and Ivan Tonsik, who I believe might have disconnected from the session. I don't know if he is currently back, but we will see. So, I presume it's going to be dry, because no one's put, oh my god, rain. So, that's my guess at least. Lewis is saying he should have been in the 12.3s. Well, it wasn't the 12.3s, it was a 12.5 you set, so unlucky. It is looking dry for now. Just going to really quickly do that. Right, cool. I'm hoping the audio is currently okay. Let me check what the sound things on 3. I presume that's okay. Please let me know if it isn't, so I can fix it ASAP. But so far, Marco's in the chat. Hello, good evening. Hope you are all well. As we wait for the drivers to select their strategies, what they're going to do. So 25% race here in Spain, and then we've got the 35% in Canada. So, yeah. What is everyone's predictions for the race tonight? I am intrigued to see what you guys are thinking. Stan Morris racing tonight? I don't know. Anyway, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights here in Spain. TGP2 round 3. It's lights out, and away we go. Who gets the better start between Darky and CJ? It looks like they're pretty equal going into turn 1. Who's going to break later? Luca also getting on the inside there as CJ dives down in on the inside into turn 1. CJ takes the lead from Darky, from Luca, from Lewis, who's had a dreadful start down in P4. Chris 5th, Jess 6th, Ryan 7th. Deck 8th. It's all going on down here as Daniel and Jake Warrior going side by side. Daniel up to P10 as Darky has gone off. He's gone off into the grass, into the barrier, and that he has gone from hero to 0 in the space of half a sector. That is not good news from the Williams driver. Meanwhile, we've got more action going on here as Ryan Berry going to try and go down the inside of Deck. Deck just about defends it off. Daniel, meanwhile, makes another take on Bazar. Can he make the move on Ryan Berry as well? Ryan Berry trying to defend, but ooh, Daniel had a bit of a run there. Bazar sneaks his nose on the inside as well, as they're all going side by side here. As Say Sports and Jake going side by side. You don't want to be going side by side for the fast right-handers, as that is the Williams going slightly wide. Say Sports manages to keep it on track, but Jack Craig is going to take advantage of that into P11. So, there's Ryan Berry having a look on Daniel, doesn't get the move done. Meanwhile, we cut to the leaders. CJ, nearly a second, just under a second ahead of Luca, who is now in P2. Good start from the Mercedes driver. Lewis Craig chasing him down though, he wants this win. Darky, unfortunately, retires from the session. He does not want to race in this race no more. Chris Johnson 4th. She is in 5th place. So, we've got a yellow flag. It is... where's the Mercedes? Oh, my van's gone off. Apologies, I've only just seen that. I thought that was a disconnection. Anyway, it's Ryan Berry and Daniel. These guys have been fighting since lap 1. And well, I think a van might have actually disconnected and it's retired his car, unfortunately. But here goes Lewis Craig. He has got a run and will have DRS on Luca. Now we know how strong the DRS and ERS is and the slipstream, but is it going to be enough for Luca? It's not going to be. Not Luca, Lewis. Meanwhile, his teammate Jess, she has moved herself up into 4th place. It is going really well for the Red Bull team so far. We've got moves going on further down as Mick has got himself into 12th place ahead of Say Sports. And look at this, Luca, he's gained himself back into that second gap of CJ. So let's see what these guys can do. As Dom says, Darky, let's go. Yes, I do agree. So we've got another yellow flag. I think stereogram might have gone off slightly. That second gap has again gone down, so CJ managing the pace quite well so far. He's keeping his composure. He knows what he needs to do. He has won a fair few TGP races in the past. Let's see what Lewis can do on Luca. I imagine he's probably feeling a little bit quicker than Luca. And let's see. He opens his DRS. He's burning. In fact, no, he's not burning. He's saving his DRS, and he's made the move on Luca. Lewis now into P2, and he is back into that second window of CJ. Meanwhile, Daniel and Ryan are still going at it for P7, and Daniel has made the move on Ryan Berry. Will we see Ryan Berry be able to make a move back on the RB? Meanwhile, this fight for P2 still going on. Don't count Jess out of this. She is currently P4. Chris Johnson as well, P5. They're all in the second window of Lewis Craig, who is slightly catching up to CJ here. Give him a lap. With CJ, one mistake, and these guys will be in the DRS zone. And one sniff of DRS, and it is all back down into a fight for the lead of the race. It's just one DRS because of how strong the DRS is with the slipstream, and at the moment getting quite close, 8/10. I think CJ might have made a mistake me saying that, and I think Lewis will have DRS, which is huge for all of this top 5 because now effectively it becomes a DRS train as the Lewis saves his DRS, so he knows what he's doing. What is Chris going to be able to do? As meanwhile, Daniel gets overtaken by Ryan Berry again. He moves himself up to P7. This could be a long battle between those guys. It's Jake Warrior. Early pit stop. I don't believe that is for a front wing. That looks like an actual strategic call. Though I guess we will see. But yes, we now have a fight for the lead. CJ versus Lewis versus Luca, who I think has just whacked his front wing on Lewis Craig. I think he's got front wing damage. He does. I saw a front wing fall off, and I think I saw contact between the two of them. Might be quite a bit of hard front wing damage there as he runs wide. I think this could be quite bad damage for Luca, who didn't need that. Currently only on 9 points as it stands before this race, and without front wing damage he does not want to be getting that. But eyes off Luca for now, as I don't know if he'll pit. Lewis versus CJ is the fight we need to keep an eye on. Jess pits And here we go. It should be a very simple move here for Lewis for the lead of the race. Is he going to make a move, or he's going to try and go round the outside here? And he pulls it off brilliantly. Lewis into the lead of the race in Spain. CJ now. He is on worn softs. I forgot to look at tyres actually, and I've just realised Lewis is on mediums, but CJ on soft tyres. I believe tyre wear is quite bad around here. Tyres overheat, as CJ seemingly showing us there as he's struggling on the exit. He is one of the only ones who actually started on soft, so I've only just clicked onto that. So yeah, at the moment, Lewis is leading, and I feel like he might only just pull away, as CJ will probably fall further and further back until he pits. But will it work for CJ? I guess we'll see. What about this fight for P6? Looks like it's slightly drifting away, but Ryan Berry's still sticking there. He can definitely still take P7 off Daniel. Is CJ going to pit? He does. He knows his tyres are falling off. Now, Luca, will he get front DRS? He does. So, I know he's got front wing damage, and I think Chris might also attempt to move. Is he going to try it? No, he won't. He's going to sit back for now. He will gain a lot of time just by CJ literally pitting. As CJ falls down the order, obviously for the pit stop, will just potentially jump him. Let's see. I don't want to watch the pit crew run in. Looks like CJ... I can't see him. Yeah, he's ahead. I don't know why I literally was hitting R1 and it still wouldn't let me focus on his onboard. Anyway, let's look at this fight for P2 on track. It'll probably be about P3. Off it, it's Chris Johnson eyeing up a move on Luca. He knows he's got the advantage. He hasn't got front wing damage, while Luca does. Will Chris be able to make a move on Luca? Meanwhile, this fight for which is now P5 getting close again, as Baza also joining the fight. There's a yellow flag. I think that's stereogram. It is. Anyway, fight for P2. Will Chris be able to get Luca? Looks like a pretty simple move as he moves himself up to P2. Ooh, a little bit of wheel bang in there. Luca's fighting it around the outside, but he can't make it stick. Front wing damage just doesn't give him enough grip, and Chris Johnson and now up to P2. Meanwhile, Daniel into the pit lane for a set of hard tyres. Will hards be the way to go? Meanwhile, this fight for P5 is still on between Ryan and now Baza. Let's see what these two can do at midway stage through the race. So yeah, both saving ERS at the moment. Everything's starting to die down very slightly before it all then kicks back up. So, Luca managing to keep with Chris this lap. I actually thought he'd only fall back, but apparently not. So, will we see any of these guys pit? They actually all stay out, including Lewis. I'm quite surprised about it. I thought he'd maybe try and cover it off. Maybe a medium soft on the cards. Personally, I think softs are... they'll die in like, well, 5 laps is what CJ showed me. Maybe even less. Meanwhile, Luca having a little look on Chris, but nothing going about it. Meanwhile, Baza trying to make the move on Ryan. No move done. CJ moves himself up to 9th after more pit stops are made. Jess, I've just realised she is on the medium tyres. Will mediums make it to the end? That's quite a long distance to go. So I guess we'll see with that, but that's a very long distance that she is asking those medium tyres to go for. Meanwhile, Luca still keeping up with Chris, and I tell you who has joined this fight, I didn't realise this. Deck is up into P4 and is chasing down these guys for P2 on circuit, probably about P4 if you count the strategies, as there is a Red Bull in. That's not a Red Bull, that's an RB. Luca into the pits, first medium driver, one of the first medium drivers. Has Ryan Berry had an off? I think he might have. Has he got front wing damage? I don't think so, but he has had an off regardless. Not too sure what's happened to him, but that might have ruined his chances of defending Daniel off, unfortunately for him, as Luca goes on to a set of soft tyres. As he is overtaken by CJ, who is a mile away from him. Ryan Berry also in for a set of hards. Say Sports pitting on to a set of softs. As Daniel, tell you what, that undercut is really strong. Only 1.5 seconds off Luca, and about what 6 seconds ahead behind CJ. That is insane. These guys are going to be like undercutted like crazy. As we watch on board with Deck, as Jack Craig moves himself up to P4 ahead of Bazza. Good race so far from Jack Craig. He's showing promising pace. Chris Johnson and Deck both into the pits. We will now cut to CJ. Where will he come out compared to these guys? Now you've got to remember, the undercut will work. CJ will be miles ahead of them, but they will all be on fresh softs compared to his slightly worn hards. And he's getting a nice little slipstream there from the RB, who he nearly crashes into. Struggled to get out of the way a bit there. As these guys are all coming out. Chris Johnson into P5. Jess though in P4. She is only 3 seconds away from CJ and is ahead of Chris and Deck and Luca. Luca obviously having that front wing damage and just clicked onto P his way so far off the pace. As yellow flag, that's just the RB moving out of the way. But so far, Lewis seems in control. I know he hasn't pitted, but that gap has only really been gaining. He's not really lost any times to the cars behind him when they were near him. There's a yellow flag in sector 2. I think that is just stereogram moving out of the way. And it's definitely ghosting. I presume we've got ghosted off the map. Case as Lewis then pits. Now this is going to be interesting. Who will be leading this race? You've got to presume it will be CJ, right? But let's see. Lewis goes on to a set of soft tyres. He's got 5 laps to make the gap. No penalties so far this race, which is amusing. CJ though, looking likely that he will be coming out in the lead, or will he? I don't think he's going to be. He isn't. Lewis has just about got ahead of CJ. Lewis on the soft tyre is going to be surely flying away from CJ in the next few laps. He needs to make the most of these softs though before they eventually will die out in the end of the race. But wow, I did not expect Lewis to have an overcut on CJ really. That's very impressive from the Scotsman. So throwing a spanner in the works though, actually. I did not expect that in the slightest. So Bazza now our leader. He has his moment of fame as stereogram again moving out of the way. We're going to have to cut focus of him for now. It's nearly a second gap already between CJ and Lewis. This is looking really good for Lewis. The strategy has worked perfectly. I thought it was going to be like a fair few seconds behind CJ, but I don't know if CJ's just had a few messy laps or something, but 1.5 is the gap, and in the moment, Baz is into the pits. Lewis is going to take the lead of the race once again. He has really been unstoppable. He has been incredible. Meanwhile, Deck and Chris are fighting out for P3, and Chris is into third. He is now onto the podium in this race. Yeah, so Lewis then 1.6 seconds, 1.7 seconds. Now it's looking more and more likely Lewis is going to win this, presuming he has no internet issues, which obviously cost him last time in Spain. I'm sure he's won it in that redemption. I think it was CJ who won that last time as well, which is quite amusing when you come to think of it. So We watch on board with Deck. No yellow flag or stereogram. Will Deck be able to fight his way back into third? I tell you what though, these guys are going to be starting to catch CJ quite significantly. Could CJ be off the podium by the end of this race? Chris, who I believe said earlier, said that he won't be on the podium, as Ryan Berry and Bazza are fighting out. Ryan Berry up to P10, however Bazza with the tyre advantage. Deck going to send it down the inside of Chris Johnson, up into third place. Well done to him. Luca makes the move on Jess, and Jack Craig makes the move on Jake, and Bazza makes the move on Ryan. 4 moves, just like that, done in an instant. And I think Jess's tyres might start to die off. They'll definitely make it. They'll make it to the end, I imagine. But yeah, cool. Meanwhile, Lewis 2 seconds ahead of CJ. These guys behind are slowly but surely catching. I'm not sure if they'll be able to catch CJ though before those tyres die off. And like I said, these softs, they die really quickly. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Lewis's tyres start to die. This is why I'm saying he needs to make the most of those tyres. I don't know how good the hards are, but I imagine they probably might come back into it by the final few laps. But whether or not it will be too late for CJ, I guess we'll see. Meanwhile, Chris Johnson right on the back of Deck. I tell you what, these two are DRS training each other really to CJ if they manage it properly. As Luca, fastest lap of the race, a 1:14.1, good lap from him. He is pushing to try and get the end position of third place, maybe even second if something magical happens for him. He had a great race in Brazil. Meanwhile, Bazza gets to move on Daniel. He had a great result in Brazil last night in TGP1. And Daniel gets passed by Bazza. But yeah, Luca, great result in Brazil. I think he got 4th place, was fighting like with the leaders. So he has good pace, and I expect him to show that pace for the rest of this race. Maybe not this race, but Canada, I expect him maybe to get a good result. Meanwhile, Deck down the inside of Chris Johnson for 3rd place. Who is going to get this podium? They don't want to fight each other too hard if they're going to be able to catch CJ. At the moment, it's not. They seem to be holding each other up, which is compromising them quite a bit. Which, if you're Lewis and if you're CJ, you're probably quite happy with them doing, as Lewis starts at lap 16. These guys enter it too. Will Chris make the move, or is he going to sit behind? I tell you what, if he does what I do, you'll sit behind until the final lap, when you will have DRS, you'll have ERS, and they can't do anything to fight it. Meanwhile, this fight for P10, Ryan Berry and Daniel have been fighting all race. Ryan Berry up to 10th place once again for the top 10 position. Who will come out victorious in this battle? And also, will Bazza potentially get caught up? It looks like Ryan is slightly catching him. Let's see, because if he can get himself into that second gap, who knows? And if Bazza can get Jake as well. Meanwhile, this fight for P4. Oh, that's wide from Chris Johnson. You do not want to be making mistakes like that entering the final lap. Deck, meanwhile, very, very close to CJ, but will it be enough? He is currently 9/10 between them. Will he get DRS? And more importantly, will that DRS lead to a P2 on the podium? Let's see, 8/10 between them, 9/10. He gets DRS, but will it be enough? This does not help Chris one bit, but it also doesn't help Deck enough, as he's 6/10 behind. He's going to need a mega lap to try and make a move somewhere. Meanwhile, we go to this fight for P8, as Jake has been caught by Bazza, but will it be enough for Bazza to make a move? He sits back for now. Meanwhile, this fight for P10, Daniel does not make a move. It looks like this could be all finished, but you never know. One mistake from these guys and it will all switch in a second. But at the moment, all eyes will be on this man, Lewis, who has been just unstoppable really in this race. He took the lead quite early on in the race, and hasn't been stopped since. Meanwhile, Jake and Bazza are fighting for P8 as they're going side by side. Who's going to get this position? Jake defends the inside. Bazza going to try and go around the outside. Has to sit behind for now. Will he be able to do it? Meanwhile, we're going to really quickly cut to Lewis Craig, who has been unstoppable today. He is going to be your man here in Spain. Brilliant win from the Red Bull driver, and one which will help his championship fight. CJ second, Deck third, Chris Johnson fourth, as we're going to cut to this fight between Jake and Bazza. It looks like Jake has just held off Bazza for P8 and 9. Ryan Berry finishes the fight off with Daniel for P10, and that is your Spanish Grand Prix. So, great win then from Lewis Craig. He was second place in the standings. He is now leading the standings, and with Dan Morris not showing up tonight, it's a quite comfortable lead. But we said this last season, and look how that ended. So let's not jinx anyone. CJ with the second place also moves up in the standings quite a bit, as Shay says, my goat. So he's popping up in the chat. Our TGP1 champion. No comment. So yeah, Lewis Craig then, very comfortable win, and well, we'll see if he can push forwards into Canada, where we will see if we might get another switch. I'll tell you what, if CJ can perform in Canada and Lewis doesn't, the fight can still be on. It's a shame Dan Morris is racing tonight, because it'd be interesting to see him potentially fighting. I don't know if he's racing full time or not. I think so. He's just not racing tonight. Yeah. So, as Lewis Craig waves his Scottish flag around, he is a proud Scotsman. Again, a British 1-2-3, whether or not Lewis likes it or not. That's the Red Bull guys. Look fascinated, as Adrian Newey, he's got the champagne, he sprays Lewis with the champagne, and they are both looking ecstatic. Deck sprays Lewis, and well, I'm sure they're all going to be happy. I think CJ maybe might be slightly disappointed. But all in all, old hards compared to the softs, you can't complain too much. Is my game going to load the standings up for Jack to have the results? Maybe. You've got 10 seconds. Come on. You know you want to? No? Okay. That's not very useful. I do apologise. The PS4 isn't the most used. Oh, it had to show up in the 30 seconds, didn't it? That's unfortunate. Shay with everyone spraying on Lewis. They did indeed. The feds are coming to get me. I don't know if you can hear that, but they're not too happy with my comments, clearly. So I'll go through the racing results. Unfortunately, I can't show it on stream like I would do, because I'm not home. So I'm going to read it out to you, and unfortunately you're just going to have to deal with that. Only one penalty that race, by the way, and that was Stereogram. Lewis Craig wins from CJ, from Deck, from Chris Johnson, from Luca, from Jess, from Jack Craig, who had quite a good race, P7. Jake Warrior P8, Bazan 9th, Ryan Berry 10th, Daniel 11th, Mick Schumacher 12th, Sayer Sports 13th, Matty C 14th, Stereogram 15th, Ivan and Darky the retirements in the race. I'm just going to very quickly put in the chat. Okay, so I can't do the math because sitting here and doing them all while I don't actually have the screen would be a nightmare. But let's just say Lewis is definitely in the championship lead. CJ, I believe, is in second. Deck probably in third, actually, thinking about it now. Maybe would he be third? Might be, and then I think it would be Lewis, Jess, Chris. I think that's your top 5. I can't do maths, alright. Yeah, we wait for 8:06, which is when we're leaving. So leaving, going, which I believe is now, considering these guys have readied up. We've got 11 people watching. Hello to you all. I hope you are all well. Where is my drink? I'm gonna have a little sip before we get into quali. As everyone's readying up, so we've got another short. We're not doing a one shot. It says, I was gonna say, everyone's readying up. I'm like, eh? I think, who is it who's hosting? Bazza must have gone. Okay, so, get my little track calendar up. That's not the track calendar, that's something completely different. I do apologise, I have been quite slow today. Obviously, PlayStation decided to blow up, which just does not help 2 minutes before streaming. But in fairness, my room is warm, but if I have the window open, all you'll hear is traffic, and no one wants that. So yeah, by the looks of it, hopefully we'll get to the end of the stream. But I guess we'll see. Ivan having internet issues, which isn't great for him. Hopefully we'll be okay, and we'll have him get through the race. Okay, so let me just try something really quickly, if I know what I'm doing, which I don't, because I don't use this much. Okie dokie. Everything, I believe, is working as it should. I do apologise for the little jumping blocks on the stream. I'm just checking if my mic muting is working, because I can't actually mute my headset through the headset. I have to go onto the PlayStation to do it. Sucks, but we always find ways around it. As we've got 30 seconds left until we get to the one-shot qualifying, we will hop on board with Lewis, Craig. I was going to say Mr. Craig, but then realised there's 2, so that'd be quite difficult. You wouldn't know what one I'm on about. It's quite cool having brothers race together on League Racing. I wish my brother did the same, but he finds it boring. So here we go then, as we go and find Lewis Craig. Oh, disappeared. Lewis Craig. Why is it disappearing? There we go. Spectate. So, Lewis into turn 3 and 4. Looking pretty neat. A little bit loose into turn 5, and in turn 6, the Vettel corner, where he flies off the circuit, giving Jenson Button the lead of the win on the final lap in 2011. Down to turn 8 to 9, clip the apex on the inside, don't run too wide into turn 9, and then you've got the hairpin into turn 10. Brake late, clip the apex if you can. Lewis does it pretty neatly, get a good exit, bit of wheel spin by the sounds of it, but he is currently leading. Now, open the DRS wide, not really much you can do here, burn a bit of battery if you have it, and then turn 13 and 14, don't clip the wall of champions. Lewis takes it a bit slow, but it is not going to be pole for him. It is once again going to be Darky on pole with Jessica Bull, P2. What a qualifying session from the Red Bull driver. That is a very impressive lap from Jess. But Darky, pole position again, Lewis down in third. What a qualifying session that is then. Darky from Jess, from Lewis, from CJ, from Luca, from Jake, Deck, Chris Johnson, Bazza, Jack Craig, Mick Schumacher, Matty C, Stereo, Graham, and Ivan, Zaya Sports, Ryan Berry, and Daniel all invalidating their laps. So that is a front row. Darky and Jess on the front row. That is a front row I did not expect from these guys tonight. I think Dom's in two feelings here. He's put, no, we almost got a Jess pole, but then was excited that Darky got pole and wants him to win the race. So Dom's in two worlds here, as we are in what I presume is a dry track. That ground doesn't look very... I presume that's dry. I don't know, this game's so misleading. I'm going to presume it's dry and I'm just being silly. As we wait for the drivers to pick the strategies out, it's a 35% race this time round, so we will have a lot more racing and a lot more strategy options to be chosen. Let's wait for these guys to again do their things. As Shay says, it's overcast. Well, yeah, but the ground makes it look a bit wet, but it's not wet, it's just Codemasters not doing their job and making, even though it's overcast, it should still look dry. I can't tell if that's dry. It's definitely dry, because someone would put in the chat, it's raining. But yeah, as the guys in the glass panel are celebrating for nothing, we go to 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. It's lights out and away we go. Here in Canada, who gets the better start between the two of them? It is Jess Bull, who's had a lightning start. She takes the lead into turn 1. Jess takes the lead from Darky, from Lewis Craig, CJ, CJ and Lewis fighting out for P3. It looks like CJ holds off Lewis in P3. Darky in P2 trying to chase down Jess. CJ and Lewis getting very close to each other. Luca having a little sneak peek at Lewis, and Deck and Jake sitting behind us. They're going side by side for P3 again. Who's going to take third place? They're going side by side. It looks like CJ just holding off Lewis again, as they're still going side by side here, going into the hairpin. Who is going to get this third place? It looks like CJ. Oh no, Lewis has gotten the better run, and it is Lewis into third place then. But CJ is going to have to run with DRS. These guys are brilliant racing going into turn 1 here. CJ going to try and send it down the inside into turn 13. He takes the move, and that is CJ into third place. I think he might have cut the corner slightly though. He's had to sacrifice a warning. But it is Jessica Bull who leads this race. It's a virtual safety car. Mick Schumacher has DNF in the Wall of Champions. Could be good luck for him for the rest of the season if he's hit the Wall of Champions. At the moment he is not a champion, I don't believe so. But Jess, great start for her. She is leading a race here in TGP2, and can she convert it? She's got a 2-second advantage to CJ. Darky, oh, who's ran into the back of Jess? Has he got front wing damage? I hope not, and I'm hoping Jess hasn't got herself rear wing damage. Does Darky have damage? I can't tell. I hope not. I want him to finish a race. But yeah, so far, so good for these guys. CJ and Lewis, brilliant fight so far. Luca was getting in the mix a little bit as well. Meanwhile, further down the grid, I don't think too much. I mean, there probably was, but I just had to keep an eye on that fight for P3. As Mick Schumacher leaves the session, that is it over for him. Apologies. Wait for these guys then to go to green flag running. I don't believe there's a safety car. I believe the game's telling me the truth. That is a VSC. No one into the pit lane then. Only lap 2, so that's completely understandable. As Daniel Wheelnut drive for a penalty. That's unfortunate for him. Meanwhile, these guys are fighting again for P3. Can't make it stick, can Lewis though. Meanwhile, with Van making a move on Matty C for 13th place. That's a very good move from him. But Jess from Darky, from CJ, from Lewis, from Luca. And so far, we've only had one proper racing lap. So I tell you what, it's been a good racing lap. Darky then, in the DRS of Jess, he won't be able to make the move as of yet. Lewis in the DRS of CJ. I tell you what, we've got two fights here, two really important fights. But can any of them make it worthwhile? Matty C, 3-second time penalty already. It's only lap 3 and we've had a VSC. That is impressive. In the wrong way. Here goes Darky though, he's got DRS. Can he make a move on Jess? Not here, but Lewis Craig can. He moves himself up to P3. Luca, going to send it down the inside of CJ. Up into P4. CJ, 2 places lost into 1. Meanwhile, the fight for the lead. Will Darky make the move on Jess? She goes for the fastest lap. Darky sends it down the inside. He takes the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix. Luca, meanwhile, moves himself up to P3, making the move on Lewis Craig. It now is Darky, Jess, Luca, Lewis, CJ. It's Darky, 3-second time penalty. It's only lap 4, sunshine. You don't want to be getting too many of them. So, yeah, top 5 has completely swapped around now. As Jake Warrior, by the way, doing impressive in P6. As Darky pulling away from Jess. Let's look at the tyres, actually. That's something I should have looked at under VSC. But completely forgot. Darky on hard tyres. I just clicked onto that and he's actually almost pulling away from Jess here. This is really impressive from the Williams driver. Jess only just about staying into the DRS though, so it's not over for her. As Lewis Craig, can he make a move on Luca for P3? He's got the DRS, but he has to sit behind CJ. Getting very racy tonight, I've realised, which is what we love to see from the Haas man. As we go on to the second straight, is CJ going to have a look? He's sending it down the inside of Lewis, who I've just clicked on has front wing damage. I don't know where I've missed that, but Lewis, he has front wing damage, but he's still in P4, holding off CJ. Yellow flag on behind. It looks like Ivan might have gone off somewhere, as Bazar has, I think, also gone off. He's lost the place to Jack Craig. That looked quite slow. But so far, it is looking like a very good race so far. Something which was in the chat, but my phone hasn't updated it for some reason. As into lap 5 then, into the hairpin. As CJ and Jake Warrior having a little fight. I did not see that coming. Jake Warrior up to the 5th. CJ falling down the order quite significantly here. He's down to P6 and Deck isn't too far off. As Jess on the back of Darky. I don't think there's going to be a move yet from her. But where there is maybe a move is Jake Warrior. Can he make a move on Lewis Craig? Not here, at least anyway. Shay used a naughty word, which is why I didn't see that chat. Naughty, naughty. Anyway, I'm not focusing on him. He is not part of this race. Tell you who is a part of this race is Darky and Jess. I did not expect this, as Ivan has gone off somewhere. It's in the pits. Cool. I don't speak about retiring in the pits. That really frustrates me. I say this every time, but this fight for the lead still goes on. Obviously, Jess, all she needs to do now, stick in the DRS of Darky, don't make any mistakes, don't let the guys behind catch up, and she's won the race. Lewis, though, I'm sure, might want to stop his teammate not winning the race here, as he's fighting Luca for P3. Meanwhile, there was an overtake behind. I think Bazza and Jack. And a little battle as CJ, very early pit stop here. As Bazza, 3-second time penalty. We're going to get a move here. No, we won't. So all is fair and square as Darky into the barrier. And that is a safety car. Instant safety car. As he has, I presume, lost his head. Because that was a very... I mean, it's probably sad. Oh, it looks like Jack might have got a warning. Please don't force yourself to DNF, Darky. Come on. Darky, come on. Darky, finish the race. Oh. Anyways, Jess is your race leader. Here in Canada. And that is the most upsetting thing you could ever see. He could have still won the race. He had front wing damage, sure, but he could have still got points. He could have still finished the race. But anyways, Jess into the pit lane. I presume that'll be for hard tyres. I presume most of these guys will pit. Luca in the pits, Lewis in the pits, Jake in the pits, Deck in the pits, Chris Johnson in the pits. Bazza stays out. Now that is something I, to be honest, didn't expect. I know he's on hards, but wow, okay. Bazza then stays out, so does Ryan Berry. Will Jess, I presume, won't gain any positions on this. I'll tell you who this messes up actually, is CJ. I think this severely messes up CJ. Yeah, this has really messed CJ up. Wow. Wow, and he's got himself for a 3-second time penalty. Pushing his... Ooh, who came out ahead? I think Luca... No, he didn't. Oh, that's where we're going to take... Yeah, okay. CJ then down to P9. Just from that one safety car. Wow. I don't think CJ's going to be too happy about that. He's already paused the game, I think. So I think that says it all. He is not going to be impressed. And to be honest, I don't blame him. Because he's done nothing wrong technically. He's just pitted at the wrong time. And it has unfortunately cost him quite a bit of time. Daniel pitting and retiring in the pit lane. It's under the safety car. Why are we retiring? As CJ put Darky in the chat, he is not happy with him. I again don't blame him, because it is probably quite frustrating to see. Yeah. So Bazza is our race leader. Just checking the audio and stuff still working. While I'm on the safety car, because I don't want what is seemingly a really good race going wrong, but so far going alright. So we've lost 4 drivers in this race: Daniel, Darky, Ivan and Mick Schumacher. At the moment, Bazza is your race leader from Ryan Berry, but Jess Bull is your net leader. Yeah, looks good so far. Looking like a good race. This has been enjoyable, but now we can breathe. And just have a breather. Let's take in. So we had Lewis Craig and CJ fighting. I've just clicked on the deck, and Jake have came out ahead of. Oh, Lewis has fixed his front wing. As what's going on here between Ryan and Jess? I don't know what's happened there, but I think there's nothing wrong with what's happened. But we are here for the restart of the race. Bazza will take us off. He had his minute of fame in Spain, and he's going to have his minute of fame here in Canada as well. Question is, when will he go? He can go from any minute. Now, Ryan Berry has overtaken him before... Oh, he's pitting. Okay. I was going to say that's a really bizarre way of going into the pit lane. Bazza takes us off. Jess is quite a bit back because, well, I presume she didn't expect Ryan to do that. But so far, it looks all clean. No moves being made as of yet on the restart. Chris Johnson, by the way, keep an eye on him. He is on the best tyres out of everyone on the grid. I really don't get why Ryan's done that. Yellow flag, Say Sports, has gone off the same place his teammate did. And he has caused a safety car, and that's going to be rear wing damage, because there's no way you get away with whacking your front wing like that. And I actually believe that's another safety car, because I can see a yellow dot on the circuit. I stand corrected. That's another safety car in this race. Safety cars are boring. I know as a driver that can be quite fun, but as a commentator, what do you waffle about? So, I'm going to speak about the fact Bazza's going to, for one, I presume he's going to pit. He's not going to stick out again, are we? Tell you what though, Jess in a really good position. Obviously I didn't realise that Jake and Deck had actually jumped. Jake and Deck had jumped to Lewis, but yeah, this makes it more interesting, as Shay makes a good point of, I asked for the safety car, and then my fault. Thank you. I've realised, I can see why the likes of Jack Craig and CJ were not exactly amused with the safety cars. Yeah, not the most entertaining things in the world, as Ryan Berry moves himself up to 11th. And I tell you what, the medium runners may be not in the worst position in the world now. Maybe Chris, bit iffy, and Matty C especially, but the others, they should be able to make them to the end now. So keep an eye on the medium runners, but more importantly, keep an eye on Jess and Jake and Deck and Lewis Craig and just, well, most of the grid. CJ, obviously keep an eye out on as well. He is out of position on circuit and has a lot of moves to make to get himself higher up on the grid, and with a 3-second time penalty, he's going to need to get a move on and send it down the inside of pretty much everyone and hope. Well, say that, he's got 14 laps, so he needs to make clean moves, make them well, don't crash with anyone, don't get held up, and he won't be in the worst position in the world. So I reckon Chris Johnson could be a spanner in the works for some of these guys. Could maybe make a few overtakes on the likes of Lewis. Does Lewis still have his front wing damage, by the way? Let's find out. Let's hopefully we'll cut onto the wall. No, we're not. He does still have front wing damage. Okay, so he has opted to not repair his front wing. So I presume that means it's not that bad at all, and that he will survive. Though fast corners, it's not the nicest thing in the world to have. Slow corners, yeah, bearable. Fast corners where you just understeer so clear off the circuit, it is, yeah, it's not the nicest thing for Lewis to have to deal with. But I'll tell you what, this has been really interesting. Say Sports has retired in the pits. Both Williams not getting points in what a race is. I had to say Darky could have got a lot of points. I'm not saying he could have won both races, but he definitely could have had a good weekend. Well, race evening. But instead, he's gone from hero to zero twice, and unfortunately, I think there maybe needs to be rules if it's not already brought in about retiring on circuit and retiring in the pits. I still think that is something that shouldn't be, at least in a race where safety cars are on. I argue it's something which you just don't need. You're sacrificing your races. Anyway, safety car speeds off, but Mylandars had enough. They're going as what is going on here. There's a lot of domino effect going on behind these guys. I don't think any of them touched each other because they'd have got penalties. But Jess is going to take us away then for her first safety car restart of the season, I believe, if I'm not wrong. Can she get her first win of the season? As we go racing once again in Canada, Jess is going to lead us from Jake. Jess has had the better restart, I'd say, pretty equal. And it looks all clean so far from the drivers for now. And well, we'll see what Jess can do. Meanwhile, Chris Johnson already right on the back of Lewis. Lewis does not need that pressure. I thought Chris was going to go spinning into the wall then. He does not need this pressure. Chris also doesn't need Lewis to hold him up. At the moment, it looks like Chris is miles clear in terms of pace and wants to get past Lewis as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Jess gapping, I'd say they're quite equal in pace actually. Will we see a movement from Jake here? No, it's behind for now. But we've got quite a lot of cluster going on with these guys. They're struggling to make the hairpin cleanly. They seem to be all over their shot. Anyways, is Deck maybe eyeing up a move? Maybe not. I thought he was by the gaps, but no, he isn't. As Jake right on the back of Jess, this could be a move for the lead of the race from Jake Warrior. Jake Warrior, who had taken quite a break from league racing here. As meanwhile, Luca and Chris Johnson going side by side. Chris does not want this. Oh, and he's been half spun. I don't think that was Luca's fault. I don't think it was Chris's fault as CJ gets past him as well. I think that is just the lovely physics in this game. Unfortunately, Chris being a victim of it. But Jake Warrior, who I believe had quite a bit of a break from league racing, currently in P2 and is fighting for the lead of the race with Jess. This has been a crazy race of Deck fighting with Lewis. They've crashed! They're both into the barrier. And that is going to be a lot of controversy between the two of them. Lewis now without a front wing. Deck with half a front wing. Oh, it's been spun. I don't think that was... I don't know. As meanwhile, Jack... Oh, actually, we're missing a fight for the lead here. Jake Warrior takes the lead of the race from Jess. Will Jess be able to fight back as CJ gets the move on Luca? As Chris Johnson under pressure from Bazars there, going near enough 3 wide as well. Luca squeezing Jake right up to the wall, but Chris Johnson gets the move on Luca. Luca's still trying to make the move. He's getting great exits. As they've had a little bit of contact there, but nothing major. CJ for a second time penalty as that is Chris and Luca now into the barrier. What is going on in this race? There's another 2 front runners who have collided with each other, and Jake still in the lead of the race. Jess in P2, she just needs to not get a penalty, and I tell you what, she is in a very good position with CJ with a penalty as well. As there's more, who's that? That's Bazza who's gone off and whacked the sausage curve, gone flying over it. Make sure he doesn't get any sort of underfloor damage. But your order now is Jake Warrior from Jess. Jess, who's got the arrest, by the way. Can she make the move on Jake Warrior? She's looking up the inside. Won't make the move this time round. Will she try to make it into turn 1? Not the greatest exit she has ever had in her career. I don't think she will get the move this time round. But your order at the moment is Jake from Jess, from CJ from Jack Craig, who's in P4, Mackie C P5, Ryan Berry P6, Deck P7, and Bazza 8, with Luca, Chris Johnson, Stereogram, and Lewis down in dead last place. Do not retire the car, Lewis. You finished the race, mate. There is never a time to retire the car. You never know what can happen. As this race has shown, Luca, 3 second time penalty. He's catching the guys ahead, I think. I don't know if he's got front wing damage, mind you, but yeah, this has been absolutely insane. This is not a race I expected to happen, but here's Jess. She is still in the DRS range of Jake Warrior. Can she make the move on the McLaren driver stereogram 3 second time penalty? She has got the DRS open, but can she make the move? Watch on board from Jake Warrior. Easy move from Jess Gamer. And that is move complete. As she will now try and pull away from Jake Warrior. But I think it's quite hard with the DRS, unfortunately. DRS makes it quite impossible to pull away around the circuit, as Zek trying to make a potential move on Matt, RTC. But nothing happening yet. But he's got a really mixed up grid and I love it. Lewis Craig, 3 second time penalty is not what he wants, as his race is going off the rails. Jake Warrior going to try and make a move on Jess Gamer for the lead of the race. Nothing yet. There's Lewis, by the way, fastest lap of the race. He wants points. He will probably get points. Fastest lap is better than nothing. As we go to the leaders once again. CJ is catching up, but will it be enough? As will Jake Warrior be able to make the move into the final few corners? No, he's going to sit behind and try and make the move onto the start finish straight. He had to run, a very good run in fact. Here he goes. He sits behind. Interesting, as we've got a yellow flag. I think that's Lewis Craig meanwhile, as Matty C trying to make a move on Jack Craig. But no prevail. So Jack Craig at the moment P4, but the penalty will drop down to about P7, which just shows how crucial penalties can be, how much it can cost you. And at the moment, it's costing Jake Warrior a chance of winning the race, as Jake making the move on Jess again. Matty C, I think, has gone off the circuit as Jake gets the move done. Let's look at Matt. He has gone off, unfortunately, in turn 4. Not turn 4, turn 6. My bad. Here we go then. Lap 18 in this race. And Jess is going to have a run on Jake Warrior. Now these guys, if they're going to work together, they don't want CJ to win this race. They're going to have to work together because CJ, big threat. They need to defend from him at all costs. Jess doesn't really need to. But CJ's going to have to pace. Meanwhile, as Bazza makes a move on Ryan Berry, who both get penalties, as Luca trying to make a move on Ryan Berry. He had a crash with one of the Aston Martins. Is he going to be able to crash? Will he manage to have a clean move with the other? Yes, he can. But yeah, I think Jake and Jess both know that CJ, I'd say, is probably quicker than him. So they'll want to keep CJ behind as long as possible to make sure that he doesn't get past, Jess especially, who has that penalty. Yeah, you don't want to sacrifice your race because someone's much faster than you. I don't know what I'm waffling about, to be honest. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, CJ's trying to get past Jess here, but can't seem to get past him as of yet. He has 1 lap extra worn tyres. Won't be a massive change, but a change nevertheless. Jess trying to stick with Jake Warrior here. There's what completes the session. Jess not the best runner now. CJ, it's his time to shine. He tries to make the move, but Jess's straight line speed, really impressive. But CJ sends it down the inside of the Red Bull driver, and CJ takes P2. Luca, meanwhile, overtakes Deck for P5. And now, all Jess needs to do is try and stick with these guys for the rest of the race. Do not let them get a 3-second gap, or you will not win the race here in Canada. She managed to stick with Jake Warrior, for the whole thing. She got P2. She took the lead for most of the race. I'm sure she can do this, presuming she gets no penalties. Meanwhile, there is a fight for P5 as Jack Craig 3-second penalty again. I think that's his second. Is it second? Oh, no, it's his first. Oh, he was actually looking for a good result there. Meanwhile, we go to the leaders. Yellow flag, I think that's for Ryan Berry, but here goes CJ down the inside of Jake Warrior. CJ takes the lead of the race, however that was a corner cut warning and a half. That was a big corner cut there. As Luca gets past Beck. I believe they crashed earlier, I think it was them too. Oh no, it was Chris Johnson, wasn't it? Luca then making a comeback up into P5. Now these guys need to try and stick with CJ, but I tell you what, CJ's pace is looking handy. He was down in P7 after having that unfortunate, well, the safety car coming out at the wrong time. There's another yellow flag, that's a Ferrari in the wall of Chris Johnson. I think we might have run out of safety cars though, so I don't think that will be any issue. We have someone in the chat, let me have a look. Dom is supporting Jess to try and get the win. I don't blame him. Let's see what happens though. I think Jake might have just got DRS, which helps Jess a lot here, because like I said, all that she needs to do is stick to these guys, and he didn't get DRS. I thought he did. Or he's letting... Oh, Luca's out of the race. What's happened to Luca? Is he retired on circuit? That looks like he's just pulled over to the side of the road. Huh? I think he has. Okay, that's unfortunate. Deck into the pit lane. This race is turning out to be quite a confusing race now. Ryan Berry's up to P5 now. Jess then in P2 chasing down CJ. She has had an exceptional race, even if she doesn't win this race. At the moment, driver of the day, she's managed to avoid all of the conflict which has happened in tonight's race, and has been fighting for the lead of the race throughout the whole race, and we have to give her full credit for it. But also credit to CJ, because it has been a brilliant comeback drive from being down in P7. He's again avoided all the crashes and has just managed to keep his head down and get on with it. And at the moment, Jess, I think, gets DRS again. She does. Tell you what, she might even be able to make a move on the Haas driver. Stays behind for now. She's saving her ERS as well, which is a good idea, I think. Well, CJ's got more... I know, got less. But yeah, we've got 2 laps to go. Can Jess hold on to try and get herself... I want to say it'll be her first TGP2 win. I would quite like clarification, Dom, if you're still watching. See if she can win her first TGP2 race, if it is. The second gap now, though. Once you lose that second, it can go downhill quite quickly, as Jack Craig makes the move on Ryan Berry for P5. Jack Craig having quite a really good race, actually, in fairness to him. Yellow flag. Stereogram off the circuit, but he has got himself points, I believe. I think it's top 13 points. So, good for him. It's been a long race for him, long night, obviously having a lot of spins, but it's the dedication of keep going. I always say it, don't retire in the pits, and he manages to just carry on regardless. As just I think is in the second window, but didn't get DRS unfortunately, so all she has to do, stay with CJ for the next 2 laps. Who is going to win this race? Will it be CJ? Will it be Jess? Or could Jake somehow pull something out of the bag and get the result done? Ryan Berry, meanwhile, flies past Jack Craig for P5 as Beck and Lewis are fighting. For P7. I think it was these two who crashed, wasn't it? They were the ones who crashed together. And now they're back on circuit with each other. This is going to go splendidly. Here they go, side by side. Lewis tries to get him back, but nothing happens. Meanwhile, CJ, 1.9 seconds is the gap. All CJ needs to do is not corner cut. If he gets one corner cut warning, could be it. Same with Jess. All she has to do is try to stay in that 1 second, try not to get any warnings, and keep that gap, which at the moment is, I'd say, just about comfortable. But is Jake Warrior going to make it a little bit harder for Jess? He stays behind for now, but he is attacking. That gap now 2.1 seconds. This is going to be something to keep an eye on the final lap of the race. Meanwhile, Ryan Berry, can he defend off Jack Craig? Jack Craig, I believe, is going to sit behind for this one lap. As Jack Craig, another 3-second time penalty that could cost him P5. I don't know what the penalties are looking like. Meanwhile, that gap between CJ and Jess, 2.7 seconds. And at the moment, it's now 3 seconds. This is CJ's to lose now. He's got that gap. Will a mistake happen from CJ, or will Jess be able to claw back the win? At the moment, 3.2 seconds. At the moment, it is looking comfortable for CJ. One mistake though, and it can all go wrong. He manages to keep it on the straight, and he's got 3.1 seconds. That gap, very so slightly closing. Jess has got the ERS though, as they go into the final corner. Will it be CJ or Jess who wins this race? CJ doesn't pick himself a penalty. Who's going to win this race? CJ, it looks like, has won it. 3.5 second gap. CJ is your winner here in Canada. Wait, what? Jess, wait, what? CJ got another penalty. Jess Ball is your winner here in Canada. I do apologise. I did not see him get another penalty. Jess is your winner here in Canada. Wow. Okay, I did not expect that. Wow, what a race. Jess then is your winner in Canada. She is a TGP2 winner and is her first win of the season. Can she now fight for the title? I thought CJ only had 3 seconds. Wow, okay. CJ in the end gets P2 anyway, ahead of Jake Warrior, so I guess CJ will take it. He's now leading the... maybe we're leading the championship? Jake Warrior third, Bazza fourth place, great result for Haas. Ryan Berry P5 defends, Jack Craig off for P6. Deck P7 after having the crash with Lewis, who finishes 8th. Matt in P9. Chris Johnson after the crash with Luca finishes in 10th. And Stereogram in 11th. But Jessica Ball is a winner in TGP2 and has won here in Canada. I am sure she is ecstatic with herself. Wow, I did not realise CJ had that penalty. I don't know when he got the other one, but oh, I'm glad I didn't know that. But then again, makes it more impressive and shocking. So it is Red Bull who win both races, but Jess is your winner here in Canada. Lewis won the first race and Jess has won the second race. She is your winner in Canada, and I couldn't be any more happier for her. Yeah, I'm very happy with that result, as she celebrates with Adrian Newey. But it wasn't him who made the driving good, it was Jess herself. He just painted the car at this point. Will my game let me see the results this time? I really hope so. But yeah, that was brilliant race. A lot of controversy, and I'm sure there might be some arguing going on, or penalties, presume. But I don't think any of them will be Jess. Just very good drive. Didn't put a foot wrong. Here we go, we got the results. Jess, then, your winner here in Canada. From CJ. Drove another great race. We have to give him credit. Okay. The game just removes it. Cool. I will read it out to you. I'll get it up on my phone and read it from there. That's really annoying. I don't know why this game likes to do this to me. So Jess is your winner in Canada from CJ. again, drove a great race, and we can't, he got messed up with the safety car in theory, so to him to get P2 and win on track, you can't take any credit from him. He was, yeah, good race from him. Jake in P3, brilliant race from him. Again, could have won that race had he not got penalties. And I'm sure had he not got the penalties, he would have raced just a little bit harder. But yeah, Jake in third. Bazza, again, great drive from him. P4 in the end. Avoided the crashes and yeah, P4. Ryan Berry P5 after, I don't think he crashed, he just kept it clean. Fought Jack Craig, who got 6th in the end. Good race from him. 18 laps, by the way, Jesse, Jake and Jack did on the hards. Really impressive. Deck in P7 after having the crash with Lewis, 7th and 8th for them. Matty C P9, Chris Johnson 10th, and Stereogram 11th. And then your DNF says a long list. Luca, Say Sports, Daniel, Darky, Ivan, and Mick Schumacher is your DNF. So, the standings are looking great. You will come and see me hopefully next week, which will be the 2nd of April. I should be home for that. By home I mean back in my accommodation. Yep, it is 2nd of April, where we have, this is getting me entertaining, Monaco and Azerbaijan. That will be an incredible race, 2 races. I think Azerbaijan was brilliant last time out in TGP2. Yeah, I enjoyed that race. That was entertaining. Both races really, but Canada was Canada never fails to lack entertainment. It is brilliant circuit. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Thank you to the guys in the chat, Shay, who yeah, insulted me with the safety car. Love you. Yeah, thank you all for watching, and I will see you hopefully all next week for Monaco and Azerbaijan. Safe travels, have a good night, and thank you for watching. Good night.